So, for today's deep dive, we're looking at a very specific piece of hardware. It's one of those things that solves a logistical headache a lot of, facility managers probably face.
A really big one.
Yeah, we have the spec sheet for the NTI ST-C5USBVU-R-1000S. That's a mouthful.
It is.
It's a VGA, USB, KVM splitter and extender. So our mission here is to figure out how you bridge that gap between a user and a computer when they're separated by just a massive distance.
We're talking a quarter of a mile massive.
Exactly.
And we really have to be clear about the scope. This isn't just about, buying a really long monitor cable.
No, absolutely not.
Anyone who's tried to run a standard VGA cable more than, say, 50 feet knows what happens. You get that ghosting fuzzy images. It's a mess.
Right.
We're looking at a system that's designed to push high-res video, audio, and USB control up to 1,000 feet. And it does it over standard CT5 or CT6 cable.
That's the part that really jumps out at me. 1,000 feet, I mean, that's 3 football fields.
It's huge.
Normally, an analog signal like VGA just completely falls apart long before that. So how does this thing actually maintain the signal integrity?
It's a two-part system. You've got a local unit, which is the splitter, and then a remote unit, the receiver. The real secret sauce is how it handles that signal degradation.
Okay.
The remote unit has video quality adjustment, specifically for something they call color skew.
All right, hold on. For those of us who aren't video engineers, let's unpack that. What exactly is color skew?
So inside a CT5 cable, you have pairs of wires, right? They're twisted at different rates to prevent interference.
Okay, yeah.
Well, over a really long distance, like 1,000 feet, the red, green, and blue signals can actually arrive at the other end at slightly different times.
Ah, because the wires are physically different lengths inside the cable.
Exactly. Without correction, the image looks almost like a 3D movie without the glasses on. It's blurry. This unit compensates for that delay, so the colors just snap right back into alignment.
That makes perfect sense. But there's usually a trade-off, right, between distance and resolution. If I'm pushing this to the full 1,000-foot limit, am I stuck with a grainy image?
Surprisingly, no. The specs on this are pretty aggressive. At 600 feet, you're getting 2048 by 1536.
Wow, that's higher than most monitors.
It is. But even if you push it to the absolute limit, that 1,000 feet, it's still supporting 1920 by 1200.
So better than standard 1080p, even across a stadium.
Right. And that resolution is critical because of the use case. This isn't just for, like, watching a video. It's a KVM.
Keyboard, video, mouse.
Exactly. You need that clarity to read text to interface with software properly.
Which brings us to the splitter part of the name. Most KVMs I've seen are one person controlling multiple computers. This seems to flip that script.
Completely. This is one-to-many. It turns a single computer, a PC, a SNN, a Mac, whatever, into a collaborative hub.
So you can have up to 8 remote users all accessing that same machine.
8 remote users plus a local one right at the computer itself.
I'm just picturing the workflow. You could have a whole team spread out across a factory floor, all inputting data into one central server.
That's the idea. And it's not limited to a standard mouse and keyboard. The docs highlight support for some very specific peripherals,
Like what?
like interactive whiteboards and, interestingly, card readers.
Cat card? Wait, those are the high security ID cards? For government and military, right?
Common access cards, yes. That little detail tells you this is built for secure environments. You can lock the CPU away in a server room, totally safe, while the user sits 1,000 feet away with a smart card reader and maybe a touchscreen monitor.
Right. And speaking of those kinds of environments, factories or warehouses, they're not exactly gentle. Is this thing built to survive?
It seems like it. The spec sheet emphasizes rugged steel construction and a powder coat finish. It's not cheap plastic.
Okay.
More importantly, it has built-in surge protection. When you run copper wire that long, you're basically building a giant antenna for electrical noise. That protection is absolutely critical.
And I notice it mentions audio, which is something that often gets dropped in these extenders.
Yeah, it creates a full multimedia station. It'll broadcast stereo audio to self-powered speakers at both ends. They claim CD quality, so you're not losing fidelity.
So just to ground this in reality, what does this kind of infrastructure cost?
The current price point we're seeing is $615, and that comes with a 2-year warranty.
So the big takeaway here is that distance is no longer a barrier to control. You can, in effect, clone a workstation a quarter mile away and not lose that feeling of sitting right in front of the PC.
It totally decouples the user from the hardware. And I think that's the provocative thought to leave you with. We're so used to the idea of a personal computer, the box on our desk. But a tool like this lets the brain be centralized and secure, while the hands are everywhere at once. It forces us to ask, is the future of high-security computing really personal anymore, or is it becoming communal?